welcome all of you once again. It's Backpack, and we're talking about the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, one of the most important museums in the world. Well, I'm saying in the world because where else you will find more about the diversification of ancient civilization. Here you will learn a lot. You will explore Egypt. Well, this place has many important, unique places. For example, I'm standing right now in the main hall, and in this hall, you will see achievements of the Egyptian civilization throughout ages. Also, if we are talking about the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, definitely we have the crown of this museum. That is the Royal Mummies Hall. We're going to find out together more about the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization and more about the most important parts. If not, of course, let me say that it is all important. You should not miss any small piece in this museum, but I will try to tell you more about this important museum. The museum also includes the education center, theater, conference room, labs, library, and showrooms. Visiting the museum is a great chance for Egyptians and non-Egyptians to explore and learn more about the history and its development throughout ages. It will also give the chance to researchers to search and study through the archive and the library located in the museum.
Egyptian civilization. Location, it's very important because two reasons to choosing the place of the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. The first, the medical lake, it's itself a medical lake, Ain Sira Lake. This is Ain Sira Lake, named in the pharaonic period the Eye of Life. Okay, the Egyptian government can be preservation. This is lake to the historical place and the tourism place. Okay, this is one reason to choosing the place. The second reason, the dye house. Dye house meeting to dyeing the clothes. There are two dye house in the world. One, the first in the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization from pharaonic period, the Fatimid period. Second, two in the Morocco, in Maghreb. Okay, to the choosing the place of the National Museum and the Raymond Theater also. This is considered the archaeological site, the opening museum.
Let me say also that when we remember Egypt in the past and Egypt today, all these infrastructure projects taking place around definitely facilitated the way for visitors who are going to visit the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, like taking the bridge, moving along from one place to the other, coming here. The way coming on or along to visit the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization is completely different.
Yes, the Egyptian government made a lot of simple ways to crossing between everything, Maadi, Fustat, a lot of ages, a lot of small time, okay, for technology ages, okay. This is the same idea in the choosing, in pathing through a lot of different ages.
Linking different places together.
Yes, yes, exactly. The National Museum of Egyptian Civilization considered it shows pathing through a lot of different ages. This is the same idea to concept of civilization, to comparison between different culture, different ages, passing through prehistoric period and pharaonic period, passing through Ptolemaic, Greek Roman period, and Coptic art, Islamic art, choosing the temporary and the new history. This is the idea of the National Museum, this is the concept of civilization.
Whenever we talk about our history and culture, we know that we have two parts, the tangible and intangible. Usually people would like to learn more about the Egyptian civilization, more about all these pieces. I moved around, I can see pieces from different eras, starting from the prehistoric up till now. And every piece will tell us about a lot of things, will tell us a lot about the era to which it belongs to. So tell me more about this important hall with all these rare pieces. I believe you will never find it elsewhere in the world.
Yes, National Museum of Egyptian Civilization considered the more masterpieces, like that the first skeleton in the ancient Egyptian history from the pharaonic period. This is a skeleton, the first, dating from 35,000 years ago. This is a skeleton discovered by Belgium University called Nazlet Khater skeleton. Nazlet Khater is the most important valley from the south of Egypt in Sohag now. This is the masterpiece, and we can see the collection of Sen Najem. Sen Najem, the supervisor artist in the reign of Seti I and Ramses II. Its tomb, it's intact, means don't robbed. It's the different coffins, the door of tomb in Luxor, the furniture, and so on. After we can see in the most important field, the medicine field. It's considered one of the most important fields in ancient Egyptian history. We can see the first prosthetic toe or artificial toe in the field in ancient Egyptian history. Also, we can see the special part for ladies, the cosmetics. We can see a lot of tools. Until now, we use it. And a lot of different art, the Coptic and the treasure douche from the Greek Roman period and the Islamic period, the cover of Kaaba. It's the masterpiece also because Egypt sent every year to the Saudi Arabia the cover of Kaaba. This is the last one. And rolling the Mahmal from the President Gamal Abdel Nasser in 1961. This is the last one, okay? National Museum of Egyptian Civilization considered one of the most important museums in the world because it shows a lot of masterpieces.
Also, we have seen pieces, as you mentioned, for example, we can see the member with its beautiful design. Also, we can see the mashrabiyya. We can see mashrabiyya now all around the world. They took it and they started to work on it.
Yes, Mashrabiyya is folklore, Egyptian folklore until now. A lot of houses we can choose this is Mashrabiyya for lighting, for decoration. It's handmade, which is considered one of the masterpiece of Islamic period.
So, what else here? If you would, I would like to know more about some more important pieces. For example, if we're talking about modern Egypt, on the other side, I can see some pieces depicting modern Egypt.
The modern Egypt, we can see the famous artists like Mahmoud Mukhtar. We decorated to the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization to be in first the tour for the prehistoric and ending the tour for the new history. And Mahmoud Mukhtar donated the patient of female patient statue, and Said Sadr artist and Muhammad Mardour artist. All of painting, all of poetry, all of artist works, the same design of the pharaonic period. It's the comparison between culture, pharaonic period, prehistoric from the 4000th century, but this is the first or temporary new house.
Usually, each place is unique with something. And for example, we used to visit a place like now we talk about the Grand Museum of Egypt, talking about Tutankhamun. Here, when we come, the first thing that everyone is talking about the royal mummies. And the parrot, and definitely, yes, this is the crown of the place, and I can see it in a panoramic view moving around us. So tell us more about it, and I believe this is one of the most important, impressive parts in the museum.
Yes, exactly, because it's royal mummies, it's different between the mummies room in the museum in Tahrir, because it's Egyptian museum in Tahrir, it's a small room, but here this is the same design of the Valley of the King, and there Bahri Kost, the place we found it is royal mummies. The same design. First time we can see the same design in the museum. We can feel beside the royal mummies, we can feel actually in Luxor, in the Valley of the King. Okay, in the royal mummies here we can see 20 mummies, 17 for kings and 3 for queens. In the royal mummies, the first time we chose the mummy beside his coffin. The first time we can see here, and we can see the CT scans and X-ray to what he killed the man, why he killed, and the tools of war like Seknon Ra, he killed by Hexus. Okay. And we can see here in the royal mummies the darkness and its small entrance like the tomb actually, or of tourismus and or of Egyptian and non-Egyptian. We can feel the Fustat, the museum of Fustat, and we can see the tomb on Luxor.
The amazing part here is starting from the first minute I entered the museum, I just felt like as if I'm traveling through time. I'm moving on from one part to the other. I feel that I'm moving throughout ages. And I always say to all of the people that I meet in Egypt, the holiday makers, that sometimes it is important to read about Egypt before visiting such places like Luxor, like different places, Abu Simbel, all these areas. But sometimes when you visit the museum, it will give you an idea about where are you going to go and more about the history, as if you are reading a book, but you are not reading, you are just inside the event.
Yes, all of shows in the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization show more 63 showcases. In one showcase, we can to store the stories for all of the most crafts, because in ancient Fustat was performed a lot of crafts. This is the main idea, to show a lot of crafts. The beginning of the agriculture and the tool of agriculture and the peace starting develop between every ages, and besides that it's carpentry and the medicine, the funerary tent. We can see a lot of crafts.
interesting spots where we stopped at. Like, for example, there were the models of soul houses. These schematic models of houses with modeled clay offerings were placed in tombs of the late First Intermediate Period and the Middle Kingdom to be given to the soul of the deceased. It illustrates the domestic architecture of the time. Also the coffin of Senedjem, the inner coffin of Senedjem that was made in anthropoid form, where his mummy was placed inside. The inner cover depicts Senedjem in his worldly clothes as he wears a long kilt of white linen. The coffin is decorated with funerary scenes of the protective goddesses. The coffin is decorated with funerary scenes of the protective goddesses from the Book of the Dead, while Senedjem receiving provisions from the tree goddess.
So, talking about the concept of Nemek.
So about the concept for exhibition object and artifacts in our museum is focusing on how Egyptian built and made his civilization, and we talk about development of these techniques from prehistorical period up to now, passing through different periods from Pharaonic, Greek-Roman, Coptic, Islamic, and modern and contemporary time. And we are focusing on the main Egyptian contribution in human being civilization. As example, for agriculture, we talk about this job and this profession from 13,000 years ago up to now. And the Egyptian contributed in this field by making many tools as axes, as circles, plows, and developed the many machines to help them. And we talk about architecture and the technique for building pyramids, for building houses, temples, and so on. And the tools that Egyptian invented as cubit unit for measurement unit, for plumb pop, for scales, and we displaying some objects dates back more 3,300 years ago. And we talk about medicine, and we are displaying some objects dates back 3,000 years ago related to artificial limb or artificial toe made for a lady to help her walk normally. And it is considered that Egyptian was very advanced and professional in medicine. We talk about measuring time, and we have here one of the oldest clock over the world. Dates back 3,400 years ago, related to the king Amenhotep III, and shows that Egyptian made many tools to measure time. They knew solar clock for measuring day hours, and they invented the water clock for measuring night hours. And then we'll talk about standard and measurement and weights, and so Egyptian gave and contributed for human being civilization for tools and weights and so on. And we will talk about social life, religious life, writing, and how Egyptian added many things for religion, for organization and structure. And so Egypt has one of the oldest central government, and they knew all this structure for the state. And we talk about development of this state through jobs, profession, and crafts and industries through ages. And we follow each theme from beginning up to now. And we are showing how Egyptian contributed new things related to Christianity, related to Islam. And the main object we are displaying, we display the cover of Kaaba, some niche related to Lady Virgin Mary and the Christ, the big toe, the clock of the king Amenhotep III, and we displaying some leather tent dates back 3,000 years ago, related to the Princess Iset Imheb. And this object and the artifacts show that Egyptian was very clever for many things. In agriculture, architecture, in medicine, in astronomy, in cosmetic, in making tools for lighting, carpet, woodworking, metalworking, and so on. And these are exhibiting in the core gallery. But in future, we will open soon a textile gallery about how Egyptian made textile through ages, and the Egyptian has a long history for this craft, dates back more 7,000 years ago, and we will display many objects and artifacts from different periods, from Pharaonic, from Greek Roman, Coptic, Islamic, and you can wait for us soon. We will open this gallery.
Consists of well-equipped showrooms that will help the visitors to live the spirit of the greatness of every period, every era in the Egyptian history.